I really want this candy bar. Okay, we've come to the last QR code entry, and I know you're tired. Again, you can do this, and I would like to leave you with 15 golden points. And what I did is, when I was considering what to put here, I went through all the things that I've told you. I went through the workbook, I went through my other book on National Board Certification, and I came up with 15 things. If I could only leave you with 15 golden points of emphasis, what would they be? And I'm going to give them to you. There's nothing really that I can list on the board because we've talked about most of these, but please remember, if I could leave you with only 15, they would be these. First of all, remember that the National Board themselves are the final authority on everything, not Jerry Parks, not this workbook. If you have any questions, you dial 1-800-22-TEACH and you talk to them. I've done it many times. They're extremely helpful. So they are the final authority. Secondly, I would say to you, circle and highlight key words and phrases in your standards book. It is core content centered. The very heart and essence of how you're going to be evaluated is in that standards book. Go through it several times. It's time consuming, I realize that. Do it. Circle and highlight key words and key phrases that you see in your national standards book. Next, I would remind you of this. It's all in how you write it up. You may be the world's best teacher, but all the assessors have is what you send them, what you write in your portfolio. And what you show trumps what you know every time. So remember, it's all in how you write it up. Next, I would leave you with this. Your teaching, especially on your videos, must be conscious and deliberate. And you must be going beyond the expectations for the average teacher when you are including things for your portfolio. You can't just teach at random. It needs, especially in your videos, to evidence conscious, deliberate, intentional teaching and learning. And as far as your accomplishments, what you do that is above and beyond what is expected of every teacher. Next, remember in your writing, the C words. Write clearly, write concisely, make your case as a lawyer and move on. Write convincingly, build a wall of evidence. Build a wall of evidence. The B word is the E word. When you put because to justify or to explain something, you are forced to put some evidence. That's the key. It's how you write it, and remember to write clearly, concisely, and convincingly. Next, I would have you remember that learning is more than just cognitive. Look for other ways of learning that your students show. Emotional, social, behavioral learning, those are important too. So learning is more than just cognitive. Next, I would have you remember to get away from this every once in a while. Do a little bit and relax and get away from it. It's important that you not try to go on and on and on because you wear down and the quality of your work wears down. So take a break every once in a while. Pause to refresh. A little bit goes a long way when you're doing National Board Certification. You can't just do it in one big lump sum. And reward yourself a little bit along the way. Go out to dinner. Buy yourself a little present. Reward yourself when you've accomplished a part of it. Don't wait until you've accomplished the whole portfolio. You'll be exhausted. I would have you remember to make copies of the chart that I gave you earlier, where you are allowed to make copies of that and use it often. Go back and do that chart often because that is one that you will use over and over and over. I would leave you with this also. Chapters 4 and 5 might be different. Primary teachers may not do any of this at all. So chapters 4 and 5 may not be relevant to you, especially if you're a primary teacher, but they're included for others. So just remember, it's in there for some, but it's not applicable to all. I would leave you with this also. If you're going to concentrate on the hardest chapters in this workbook, they would be Work Table 3, the writing samples, right around chapter 5, and the Work Table 13. The These are tough, and chapter 11 and the work tables 11 and 12 with the videos are kind of repetitive and exhaustive, but those are tough. Concentrate on those a second time or a third time. Remember the 3 types of writing. Please remember, your descriptive writing is your camera, your analytical writing is your scalpel, and your reflective writing is your mirror. I would ask you to consider some of the things that you can use for documented accomplishments. Have you ever considered a class web page, a parent email list? Have you considered doing a parent Facebook page where you can keep in contact with parents? There's some suggested activities in Chapter 7. Make sure you see those. But think outside the box. Sometimes we don't think of a parent Facebook page, but that would be a great entry for. Here's one. If you don't teach something, let me rephrase that. If you're not teaching something new, how can you teach it differently? If you can feature how you do something differently or creatively, even if it's not new, if it's not novel, but it's just creative and it's different, that will suffice. It's not always how great you are, it's how creative you can be. And how you show that in your videos is very, very important. And as we said earlier, what you show in your writing trumps what you know as a teacher. And then in addition to your spouse, remember, have 3 people read your entries and work with you through this. A national board certified teacher or a candidate, a teacher or some other educator, and a professional outside of education. They'll give you a sense of are you coming across? They'll help you correct the grammar. You'll get a candidate's perspective. You'll get an educator's perspective, somebody who's thinking education, and you'll get that unbiased perspective of somebody else. These are what I would leave you with. Thank you for enduring me in this workshop. I hope you've learned a few things, picked up a few pointers in addition to what's in the workbook. It is a difficult process. It is a doable process. And if you will work carefully and bide your time and follow some of the instructions and tips that I've given you and give it your best, you can be a successful national board certified teacher. That's not a promise, but that's encouragement. If I can do it, you can do it. Thank you very much. I'm going to eat the Snickers bar.